Hi, and welcome to my newest video where I'm going to introduce to you my favorite quality of life mods for Rimworld. These mods are all not too game altering. They are mostly meant for convenience and frustration reduction. I'm going to talk about these mods, what they do, and which features I especially value about them, and also if there are a couple of extra features that can be quickly introduced, I'm gonna nail them as well. So before we get started, two things. First, down there in the description box, you will find links to the particular points in the video via timestamps, and also a link to my Steam collection for these mods here featured, so you have an easier access for those. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get finally started. The first mod that I want to talk about is called Achtung. Its original purpose was to have a tool that makes it easier for you to create formations with, but these things got introduced into Rimworld a version or so ago, and that's not the most interesting part about it anymore. What it is important for me personally, is that it allows you to force work on your colonists. It introduced two really good things. First off, you can select somebody, right-click into a room. Well, you need to pick somebody who's actually willing to clean, and it adds this clean this room function. This is exclusive to the mod, and I love it. You can just tell your people to sweep out that friggin' room. Another thing that you can do with this mod, and that's also very, very valuable in my opinion, is you put down a couple of jobs somewhere, and then you can right-click there, and of course pick somebody who can do it, and then force the work. In this scenario, your dude will go over there and you see those exclamation marks, and they will try to cut this, to finish this job until it's done. They will stop under two circumstances, either physical problems or mental problems. You can configure those triggers, but in a nutshell, this mod allows you to sweep out rooms effectively and get jobs done more effectively, because with vanilla, you have to select every single tile for jobs. It's a nuisance. Don't do it. Alright, I love it for that. Let's get on to the next one, which is actually two mods in one, but, well, let's not be too exact about that. It's Architect and Recipe Icons. It's a pretty slim and lean mod. It just adds two things. First off, it adds these little icons that you see here right next to the buttons. That's Architect icons. And the other mod is Recipe Icons. Well, you can see what it does. It adds in icons to your recipes, that's all. I really like that. It's not adding too much, but seriously, I really enjoy everything that makes things, that gives clarity. And these two mods just do that thing. So, I don't think they are super important, but for me they are. Alright, off to the next one, and that's going to be Smart Speed. Smart Speed is among my absolute favorite mods in the game, and it just adds a thing here, a fourth speed button, which is a godsend, because personally I don't think that the third speed option in the game is already enough, and you can't sadly teach the mod more speeds. I personally would prefer even more configuration options, but it really helps a ton. What it also does is you can right-click in here and select the ignore function. When you do that during a combat, you can force out the forced slowdown of time, and that's just awesome, believe me. So there's really good reason for me why I love this mod. Off to the next one, Share the Load. Share the Load is a quality of life hauling mod, which actually does impact the gameplay in a way, because, you know, it makes your pawns smarter, and if you don't like smart pawns, you shouldn't use that one. But in a nutshell, I'm going to plop down something here. It does one thing. When you place down a project which needs more materials than one person can possibly carry, usually without Share the Load, people will only haul stuff there which are assigned to the job, like construction. With Share the Load, your people will start to do that if they're just busy with hauling. End of that. It's really good because I don't see any reason why people shouldn't do that. Off to the next point in the list. That's Pick Up and Haul and While You're Up. These are among my favorite quality of life mods, but I must say, first off, they're quite addictive, and secondly, they do improve game performance by a lot. What do they do? Pick up and haul does one thing. Your people are no longer incapable of picking up only one stack of a thing and carry it somewhere. With pick up and hold, they can stuff things into their pockets until their carrying capacity is full, and then they walk over and toss that stuff out. This results in a way more efficient hauling performance of your pawns, and well, it's that. While you're up, though, is a little bit different. While you're up is adding in more intelligence into that. So this mod does, for example, if let's say there are items lying around in here, let's say there's some milk or something like that lying there, and somebody gets in there and shears a sheep, then they will look around and see, oh, there's milk lying around. I was just headed to eat something. Let's carry that milk and then eat something. While you're up is adding in a behavior on your pawns that allows them to dynamically choose to haul when it seems sufficient. It ain't perfect by no means, but it really does a lot in terms of reducing the workload of hauling jobs in your colony, and I really enjoy it for that. Next on the list, don't block door. There's really not much to say about that mod. It's simple, it's awesome, and it does stop the blockage of doors. Basically, without that mod, sometimes people just toss stuff into the doorway and they don't care about it. The problem is, a door can't close anymore when there's something lying there. Here, in such an environment, that ain't that much of a problem. But if you're playing on extremely cold maps, for example, this can easily destroy the insulation of an entire base. The mod doesn't really do much more than adding in a behavior of your colonists that they really try to keep those doorways clean, and it's just awesome at doing that. The next point on the list is Smart Medicine. Smart Medicine is a really cool and quite deep mod, but its main function, what I love it for, is that it allows your people to carry medicine in their pockets. You can here tell them how much and which one, and then they will use the medicine out of their pockets. Since I've had several times that people actually died on the battlefield because people were busy getting medicine, and I don't see any good reason why people should not carry medicine when they're going to battle. Here goes the solution. I love the mod for that. You can configure a ton behind that. There's really a lot depth in that. Well, maybe I'm over-exaggerating it a little bit, but here it goes. You can tell the mod a lot about the automation of how to use medicine, and you can use it with default settings and enjoy it a lot, but you can also tweak it to your own needs. Next point on the list, Injured Carry. I love that one. Injured Carry allows you to carry injured people. It works like that. Here, our good friend McFly is already pretty wounded, and his moving is really horrible. He's alcohol addicted on withdrawal, and for him to now move into any bed would be actually really bothersome, and he's bleeding to death. You can now just select Rescue McFly as a result of that mod. This will send the person off and carry them back home. Sometimes you just want your people as quick as possible in a bed. I mean, nowadays with version 1.3, you can just tend people without medicine just on the spot where they are, sure, but sometimes you really want those people as quick as possible in their beds to perform a surgery or whatever. It is a very nice hack that allows you to carry people that aren't moving quick enough to their resting spot. I enjoyed that a lot for that. Alright, next one on the list is Animals Logic. Animals Logic is a pretty big mod, and it does, for me, mostly two things. First off, it does stop your animals from eating stuff they shouldn't. Like, with Animals Logic, your animals should, I emphasize should, no longer drink randomly alcohol, for example, and they should no longer eat the best food possible. The mod is deeply configurable again, and you can do a lot of things, but that's one thing I really appreciate about that. The second thing about Animals Logic is it does add in a medical alert for your animals when they are really, really in bad shape. And that's really necessary. Sometimes your animals are that important. And it's really annoying if you lose your favorite pet Rumbo only because you didn't notice that bleeding. Another thing I really like about this mod is that you can tell it to convert any meat into chicken meat. So if you are tired like me of 1,000 different sorts of meat in your colony, you can unify that. Because beyond being a pain to sort it out, there's literally no difference between the quality or anything of these meats. So those are my personal reasons why I love Animals Logic and what I'm using it for. Alright, so the next point on the list will be Dubs Mint Menus and Minimap. These are two mods, but I've put them together because I feel like they really fit well together. So Dubs Mint Menus, basically you already saw it in action. It changes your bill menu into something wonderful like that. I don't like the basic menu, and this one is just awesome. It's tidy, it's nice, and it also allows you to clone your builds and save them. Like when you have set up a couple of builds like I did here, for example, I have here my favorite cremation setup, I have here my favorite smelting setup, and I also have the a option for butchering. You can't just clone the build that's sitting here, and that's just awesome. On top of that, you also get a really, really cool... Get over here! Okay, sometimes they behave like that. A really cool planting menu, which also comes from this mod, which makes all the information way more visible and accessible. I love it for that. The other one is Dubs Mint Minimap. Well, it does what it says in the label. It adds in a minimap. I personally think Rimworld is a game that needs a minimap. I find it quite... I can't play this without minimap. Here, if you find this a little bit overpowered on your own, you can configure it. You can lock the minimap behind a comms console or even behind something, some Rimatomics tech. And you can also configure what kind of things you want to see on that. So there's a lot of tweaking possible if you find that does ease up things too much. Because, you know, it is quite useful to know where that attack is coming from. The base game without the minimap implores much more difficulty about that. But for me personally, colony building games without minimaps are a no-go. That's why this is an essential mod for me. So, next thing on the list is the Allow tool. I love Allow tool. Allow tool is a pretty nifty mod that has so many functions that I actually did an entire video about that. But in short, I love Allow tool for the addition of little tools that you can use in the order menu. So you can allow everything from there on. You can finish off enemies. No more beat enemy to death. If your melee skill is 6 or higher, you can just stab enemies and finish them off. You can also lay down grids for strip mining. You can lay down plans. There are really cool features among that. For example, you can just right-click the mining button and mine all connected ores. That's a little bit OP because it definitely smells where that goes to, but it's a nice quality of life. You don't need to use that. The other thing that I like this for is you can just, for example, select that heal route. Right-click, select similar. Select similar things on map. See all heal route. This, if you really want to know all the functions, like I said, it has so many, I did an entire video about that. It's really cool, and I wouldn't want to play without it anymore. Next on the list, Numbers. Numbers is my favorite management tool for colonies in this game, or among my favorite management tools. It adds in this little tab here, and this doesn't look too interesting here. Let me show you one of my favorite presets here. That's here, featuring an overview of all colonists' skills, and right now their disease versus immunity margin. But you can configure this table with a crazy amount of depth. And you can save all these presets, and it's a very nifty way to compare informations that really matter to you. You just need to right click there, and then you can just remove those parts, and then you can add in all manner of different things. You can even check out how the luciferium need of your luciferium addicted colony is going. This this tool really offers you a lot of different things, and I personally gotta admit, I almost never use it for anything different than that, and this is already an insane help for me. But it can do way more, according, well, it's all up to you. So, next point on the list, one of my favorites, good old Food Alert. Food Alert is a great mod. It doesn't do much, but what it does is awesome. Food Alert does count all the food in your storage and then give you a little bit of a little readout here. It's hardly seeable here, but a little bit below the camera. You can now see how many days worth of food you have in your storage. That's practically all the mod does, but I always found it very, very annoying not to know how much food I actually have. You can tell the mod to, wait a sec, here, to prefer certain meals. So if you only want to know how much simple meal or better you have, you can select that. So you can filter that out a little bit. I really love this one. It's simple, it's effective, and it gives you an exact readout about your food situation, which is, in my opinion, for survival, a really, really important thing. So, next one on the list is the Animal tab. Animal tab is a real power tool which enhances the Animal tab. What it does, first off, it gives you a little bit of a more optimized reading version of this. I really like this one a lot, but what it also does, it adds filters. So you can now filter with this tool. For example, you can get a readout of all shearable animals, or all animals that can't be sheared, or all milkable animals. When you have a lot of animals at some point, it will be nigh impossible to manage it simply with that list alone. These filters are such power tools in that regard that I really love that one. It's one of my favorites. It doesn't add anything into the auto slaughtering menu, but yeah, you get a lot of nice extras there, and I enjoy this over the vanilla Animal tab a ton. Alright, next on the list, one with less functions but more of fun, Camera Plus. Camera Plus is a really cool mod which does basically two things. It lets you zoom out real far and zoom in real close. The real close in zoom is something I always wanted because sometimes I really enjoy how things look real close up, and the mod gives you a lot more options to just check out how things look like. But in game terms, this extremely zoomed out view is also very, very useful, and it can actually replace the minimap to some degree. If you don't want to play with the minimap, Camera Plus on its own does feature all you need. Mod doesn't do more than that, but it's that comfy and that cool to check out all these rooms that close up. I won't play with it. I don't want to play without it anymore. So the next one is more technical, but on my must-have list as well. It's Replace Stuff. Replace Stuff. Without that, you just have to dismantle walls and rebuild them, which is truly horrible. With Replace Stuff, you just slap on a wall over there, and here we go. Your people will just automatically get the job done. They basically do both jobs at once. They add the material there, and then they deconstruct and construct at the same time. Boom. This replaces the wall, or basically everything you want. It does have a couple of incompatibilities with a couple of mods out there, so sometimes modded items spawn which can't be replaced properly, but like 90%, 95% of the time it works like a charm. I love it. It's absolutely necessary and worth the installation. And now we come already to the last one, but it's really a good one. That's Where Is My Weapon? Where Is My Weapon doesn't do much except for one thing. So as soon as McFly will be back on his feet again and capable of walking again, he will do one thing. He will grab his knife and re-equip it. Without this mod, your people will stay unarmed if they get downed due to various reasons. Mental breakdowns, diseases, wounds, whatever. Where Is My Weapon adds in a string where they will try to reobtain their weapon. Sadly, the mod ain't perfect. It can't work if the weapon is forbidden at the time the person gets back on their feet. Sometimes they break down and the item is forbidden afterwards, and then they get back on their feet, and that's the moment they forget about it. Then you have to manually re-equip that. But beyond that, there's always a flaw behind mods, but this one really reduces the tedium behind re-equipping your people by a lot. Alright, that's the last one on the list. This doesn't mean that these were all the only mods I always play with, but they were the one that I personally considered the most important to me. There might be one day a part 2 of this video, so feel free to drop your comments down below with mods that you find invaluable, which haven't been included in this list, so we can do a little bit of a exchange there. I would be deeply delighted if we had a nice list below this video, and after all, leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. I'd be deeply delighted if you did. Also, subscribe to my channel. I do daily content. You might enjoy that as well. And in the description box down there, there's not only the helpful links I was talking before, there's also my Twitch channel, where I do daily streams, or at least I try to, and my Discord community, where you can find like-minded gamers, including myself, and last but not least, links to directly support this video channel. I'd be really, really happy if you check them out, but don't worry if you don't. Watching this video is already more help than you might think, and that's that. I hope you had a good time, and I hope you're going to tune in to another video of mine quite soon. Have a good time, and see you soon. Bye-bye.